I never expected my life to end up like this. I thought we were doing okay. Not perfect, not a fairy tale, but okay. My name is Nathaniel. I'm 38, and I've been married to Claire for 12 years. We met in college, both of us studying literature at Cambridge. She was funny, brilliant, magnetic. I was quieter, methodical, a bit awkward, but I had my own world. She liked that about me. Said I grounded her. Said I made her feel safe. The first few years were everything I thought marriage should be. We laughed until we couldn't breathe. We had movie nights, weekend hikes, lazy breakfasts in bed, and endless late-night talks. I thought the connection we had would last forever, or at least long enough for us to grow old together. I never imagined it would slip away quietly, like sand through my fingers. It started subtly. The small gestures, the small attentions, the little things that made us started disappearing. Claire would come home from work and barely look up from her phone. I'd greet her at the door with a kiss on the cheek, and she would barely respond. At first, I told myself she was tired, stressed from her law practice, or maybe just preoccupied with something else. I thought I could wait it out. I thought I could bring us back to what we had with patience and love. But the distance grew. Not overnight. Not in huge fights or screaming matches. Just quiet absence. Her laughter stopped at my jokes. The warmth that used to be in her touch became fleeting. I tried small gestures. I cooked dinner more often, cleaned the apartment, even ran her bath sometimes, trying to remind her of what we used to have. And still, nothing changed. I remember one evening distinctly. It was late September. I had planned a quiet night at home, just the two of us. Candles, soft music, her favorite wine. I wanted to talk, to reconnect. I walked into the living room, and she was scrolling through her phone, headphones in, eyes glazed over. I stood there for a moment, unsure if I should interrupt. Finally, I said, softly, "Claire, can we talk for a minute?" She didn't even look up. She just muttered, "Not now," and returned to her screen. That was the night I felt something shift inside me. I realized that patience, love, and effort only work if the other person is willing to meet you halfway. And she wasn't. I tried again a few weeks later. I sat beside her on the couch and said, "I feel like we're drifting. I miss us." She looked at me, her eyes cold and distant. "Nathaniel," she said, her voice clipped, "I don't feel that way anymore. I found someone else. I don't want anything to do with you anymore." The words hit me like a hammer. I felt my chest tighten, my throat dry. I wanted to argue, to beg, to scream, to demand reasons, but something in me stopped. I didn't. I simply listened. I nodded, because arguing would have been futile. She had made her choice, and it wasn't me. I didn't pack my bags that night. I didn't storm out. I went to bed, laying there in silence, feeling the weight of 12 years pressing down on me. I thought of our first apartment, the first road trip, the nights we stayed awake talking about everything and nothing. I thought of how much I had given, how much I had tried, and how little of it mattered now. The next morning, I went through the motions. I drank my coffee, dressed for work, and drove to my office, thinking carefully about my next steps. I realized I had two choices: crumble under the weight of betrayal or meet it with clarity and dignity. I chose the latter. I started by cutting the cords quietly, methodically. I logged into our joint accounts and canceled the cards she was authorized to use. I transferred her monthly allowance to a separate account for her discretion. I changed passwords for our shared subscriptions. Everything she needed to survive day to day was available, but I removed access that could allow manipulation or unnecessary leverage. It wasn't revenge. It was simple logistics. She had dictated the terms, cold and absolute. I followed them with precision. Over the next few days, I maintained calm. When her lawyer called demanding explanations or immediate funds, I directed everything to my attorney. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I was calm, neutral, collected. The situation was hers, not mine. I had been blindsided, yes, but I was no longer a victim. I kept repeating to myself that this wasn't about anger or punishment. It was about clarity, respecting her wishes, adhering to the rules she set, and taking control of my life again. There was a strange satisfaction in the silence of the house, in the emptiness that wasn't heavy with tension but weighted with truth. It wasn't easy. Every memory felt like a thorn. Every song, every scent, every corner of our apartment reminded me of what I had lost. But I discovered something about myself in that quiet. Resilience, calm strength, and the capacity to walk away without drama, without chaos. Friends noticed the change. Marcus, my best friend, asked one night if I was okay. I simply said, "I'm done trying to convince someone to care about me." She made her choice. There was no anger in my voice, just a steady, unwavering certainty. I started rebuilding my routines. Gym in the mornings, long runs through the parks, reading again for the first time in years, working on personal projects I had neglected. The house, once filled with tension, now became a space for me to breathe. I ate the food I wanted, rearranged furniture, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, I began to feel the weight lift off my chest. Weeks later, Claire came back briefly, trying to negotiate access or gauge my reaction. I met her with the same calm neutrality. "Everything through lawyers," I said, and meant it. No pleading, no desperation. She realized then that the control she hoped to wield was gone. I was no longer tethered to her choices or whims. I won't pretend it didn't hurt. It did, deeply, but pain doesn't require spectacle. It doesn't need dramatics. It just exists, quietly, until you decide to either drown in it or move forward. I chose the latter. The first night, I slept alone, without the weight of pretense or ignored affection pressing down on me. I realized freedom is a strange kind of peace. Bitter, yes, but peaceful nonetheless. The house felt bigger, the air clearer. I was still Nathaniel, flawed, quiet, careful, but now stronger, more certain of my worth, and completely done trying to earn validation from someone who had already decided I was expendable. And in that quiet, I finally understood something I hadn't before. Love, real love, is mutual. Effort and loyalty matter only if they are met halfway. If not, the bravest act isn't yelling or pleading. It's walking away, calmly, with dignity intact, leaving the rest to life and time to sort itself out. I'm not angry. I'm not broken. I'm simply free. And in freedom, I have space to breathe, to live, to be myself again. Whatever comes next, I know I won't settle for less than respect, attention, and truth. And that, more than anything, is worth walking away for.